and then just a lot of anger that somebody took us from her so soon, because I have this terrible feeling that it was foul play, and it hurts me so much because she was just such a fun, happy person.
Heartthrob Zac Efron should not be playing Ted Bundy. Your thoughts?
The reality is that we have been glamorizing serial killers for millennia, really.
There have now been 710 indigenous people, mostly girls, reported missing in Wyoming
over the past decade.
These are not your local PTA organizers, people at the farmer's market, teachers, friends, etc. These are heinous people that have done the unthinkable, and some of y'all love them. Let's talk about it. Now, before I begin for real, let's just address the minor elephant in the room. For the 8 people that really enjoy this channel, I just want to say, thank you. Second of all, it is no secret that I really like true crime. I've mentioned it in multiple videos, okay? I really enjoy Bailey Sarian's Mystery and Makeup Mondays. You know, I would watch old Dateline episodes religiously. I mean, even women who, like, I really was involved in this sector. So much so that I even made my own true crime video on this channel. And I was focusing on the Chris Watts case and the wife's involvement with a certain multi-level marketing company. This isn't coming from anybody that's a hater or trying to stir something up. Like, I was involved in this. Let's get that straight. I got so deep involved into this that I had to sit back and be like,
well, wait a minute.
It arose concern in me. Have you ever had a moment in your life where you had to sit back and be like, why am I so into this? You know what I mean? Like, sit back and really be like, girl, like, where did this sudden interest come from? The best example I can give, girl, is just not for the kids, okay? But this is the best way I can put it. Have you ever hooked up with someone that was attractive?
Bitch, I know you fucking lied. I know you fucking lied.
Okay, so much so that when it comes to a certain action, you know, you realize,
oh wow, this is trash.
like, ooh, you know, you're ready to leave. You're like, where the f are my lashes? I'm out of here. I'm done. Like, you're nice to look at, but I'm kind of over this. This was way more than I thought it was going to be. Or way less, depending on, you know, if they're not doing it right. That's kind of what this genre of true crime did to me. I loved the appeal. You know what I'm saying? Like, I loved diving into it because it was so interesting, and it was a topic that everyone was interested in. I don't know a single friend of mine, truly, that would be repelled by the idea of sitting through an entire true crime documentary. Everyone likes this shit. But I had to snap out of the appeal. And then I realized for a second, I'm like, hold on, Margaret. This is not fiction. This is not fictional. These are real instances that happen. These people really existed. And I would argue, even though I know that this video is probably going to be a very unpopular opinion, even my toughest critic could admit these lives were real. Traumatic events happened. Real death occurred. These victims were subjugated to some of the most horrific events in history, beyond you and I's comprehension. Families lost loved ones in the most excruciating ways. Kids are without parents. Following turned into stalking, turned into death. Brainwashing going terribly wrong, as if it could go right. I know, but seriously, look at The Family when Charles Manson. Horrifying. We subscribe to this, okay? Hear me out. We subscribe to this actively and make it a multi-million, if not billion-dollar subset of the entertainment industry as a whole. I mean, friends, seriously, think about this. How well do true crime documentaries do on Netflix? I'd love to see that graph, because I'm sure it's exponential. I'll go as far as even to say the true crime YouTubers that are emerging on this platform. Being a YouTuber is not easy, but that's a sector to get into, and if you're really good at it, your channel will soar. People love this genre, and the thing is, they will hear the same stories over and over and over again. You know, sometimes that even makes me think, the definition of insanity is what? According to Einstein, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Are we all moving in an insane robotic motion of hearing these stories, and what is the reason for that? I'm gonna go as far as to say, have we ever thought about what we are actually consuming? I'm not saying majority of reasons are rooted in malice. I think a lot of us are just inquisitive people, and to tell you the truth, humans are just nosy, okay? So I don't want anyone thinking that I think we're all just evil people that are just plotting. That's not what I'm getting at. But the general question is why? And if I'm gonna ask you your why, I think that's a very personal question. So allow me to get personal and tell you mine. In 2017, I had the privilege of receiving my Bachelor's of Science degree in counseling. And I had a lot of complex courses in developed and advanced psychology, both ranging from studying the psychology of addictions to even going into a 2-part pre-grad study in death and dying. In that program, I had to take a lot of notes. I had to do a lot of dissecting. I had to do a lot of interviewing. I had to watch a lot of videos that I would never want anyone else to see. I enjoyed college. It was both good and interesting. And the interesting part is the fact that it rewired my mind so much to think on a whole nother level. Truly changed how I perceive everything. But seriously, I wanted to understand the mind of a serial killer. You know, don't fret now. Don't fret. Hold on a minute. We all know the emotion of anger. And I believe anger, being a natural emotion, would drive the average person to do something foolish in their life. Now, I'm not saying that you would do this. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But what I'm saying is I'm sure there's been one part of your life where you've gotten so angry, you thought, oh my God, I could knock this over, or I could scream at the top of my lungs, or I could kick something, I could take it out on somebody that didn't deserve it. We've all done that. You can't argue that you haven't, because you have. We've all done that. But what happens when the anger takes over you and makes you take the life of someone else? Rage so badly, you take shit into your own hands. Like I said, girl, we all know what it's like to be mad as okay, let's not even fret. But not all of us know a slayer.
I have to say slay because YouTube guidelines.
I would argue that most people wouldn't knowingly register to have one in their family or in their close friend groups. So when you hear that such and such in a whole nother state or a whole nother continent did the unthinkable, you're like, damn, what's going on over there? I've never experienced a mind or encountered a person that grim, that hurt. Who hurt that person that did it? Or does that even matter? See, psychology teaches us that these types of brains that commit these acts are wired differently.
No orbital cortex activity. It had no temporal lobe activity. All sort of limbic system. And I said, oh my God, this is one of these killers. It's the exact same pattern as a killer. But when I looked down at the code, it was not one of the killers, it was me.
They process information differently from you and I. The communication signals that go off in their brain are routed differently than you and I. Does that make it an illness? Does that make it, oh, well, they're restructured, so we need to have some level of empathy because they're not using their frontal lobe like you and I are?
Does it even matter?
That's only the starting point. The second part of my why is the part that people don't talk about enough. Those that were affected truly in these crimes, because you and I were not affected. We're nosy. We're nosy and we're peeking in. But like I said in the beginning, there were people that were here that are no longer here because of the hands or the object or the weaponry of a disgruntled individual. You see, that's horrifying. And I would listen to these stories and want to know the next move, especially if they were still living. There's nothing like an active show to keep watching, to keep festering on. And then feel this sadness for this life that I didn't even know that was eradicated. I would do all the what ifs, like, oh, well, you know, what if they just got divorced? What if she admitted that domestic was going on, you know, much earlier? What if the police believed them? What if they did something sooner? It became a bartering thing for me, I guess.
You know, how could she stay with that motherfucker?
It would become this parallel universe to where I would be so in tune with the story, it's almost like my mind rewrote it. It's almost like I became the active investigator and I was trying to solve the crime. Even if the crime was finite, even if it already had occurred and was already solved. These actions made me feel like I saved the case, even though the individual is already dead and everyone else is hooked on their death. We are so hooked to the point to where, and here's the unpopular opinion, if you ever wanted to unsubscribe, this might be the time, girl. It's not about who or what is gone or was lost. It's about the mastermind that did it. It's the bad guy show that we're demanding an encore to every time we watch a series, a documentary, an update on that individual. Who they affected is in the ground. They're still living, and we are thriving off of that. Every time we watch a 20-minute video about the new developments in the Chris Watts case, we are stroking that man's ego. Now you're probably saying, Mark, come on, you're doing too much. Like an encore, I literally just want to update, okay? I just want to know what's going on. Okay, that's fair. Why? Why? Because a lot of the videos that I use to research to make my commentary on this video aren't really telling you new information. Shanann is gone. Those kids are gone. Chris Watts is in jail, rightfully so. Claimed to be a born-again Christian, but that's a video for another day. You know what he did to his wife. You know what he did to his kids. You know he's rightfully behind bars for what he did, and we still subscribe. Why do we care so much if justice was served and he's off the streets? The ample amount of care, God, I'm almost nervous to say this. The ample amount of care and wanting to know about these updates comes in a lot of times, not all the time. Some people really just care for whatever their own reasons are, but a lot of times is because Chris Watts is not ugly. He's an attractive Caucasian male that did the unthinkable. And there's a level of fantasizing and fetishizing men, handsome men, that do these kinds of acts and look good doing it. It's fucking disgusting, to be honest. And that's probably a majority of the reason why a lot of people tune in.
How could someone so attractive, so this, so that, do something so heinous?
It could be justice for the family, but even though justice already happened, so that doesn't make any sense, it could be that a good majority of the people that tune in get excited in the worst way when a handsome man, because a lot of women have no other want other than to fix a broken man. I said it. I said it, girl. I said it. This disgusting crowd allows their legacies to live on in spite of the horrifying crimes that they committed. This patriarchy only thrives because he's attractive and because so many of us crave to fix a hot guy that's going through a hard time. We want to see the good in what is so clearly ew. All right, now take a break, get some water. Did I make you mad? Good, okay, because I'm gonna keep going. Ted Bundy. Let's talk about Ted Bundy. You know the name, you know what he did. The horrifying. What about the storm of care packages, underwear, engagements he was sent while he was locked up?
Has called only one witness, Carol Boone. Acting as his own lawyer, Bundy questioned her about his character. She said he's a kind, warm, patient man, a very positive part of her life. Then the convicted man popped the question.
Carol, you want to marry me? I want to marry you. I don't want to marry.
Bundy went on questioning Boone. The prosecution called the marriage proposal a charade and asked the jury to consider the timing of the announcement.
The I Love Ted Bundy group, the women that would try to break into the jail just to see him. This trapped, R-worded, assaulted, and took the lives of many beautiful young women. And goes down in history as one of the best serial killers and a love interest of, I guess now would be the older generation. Ask your grandma and your mom how they feel about Ted Bundy. Let me know in the comments below. I mean, this has had merch, he's had movies made about him, so much so that Netflix decided to do a thriller on him, featuring none other than who? Zac Efron. Everyone's wet dream in the early 2000s. Yeah, Zac Efron as the leading role, playing Ted Bundy. But this isn't about attractive men that do anything wrong. No, this is about justice. Come on. His role was to portray this cunning, inviting individual that was sexy and had a dark side to him. The kink of it all. Are you starting to see the pattern here? This is when I say these non-fictional stories can become fictional in some of our heads because we draw this fanatical series from it. We get to criticize, fantasize, think outside of the box, hell, become detectives, put our little ghetto imaginary detective hats on and solve a case that's already been solved 10 times over. Or better yet, with a cold case. Jesus, don't get me started on those. We solve all of these events that we were not present for.
We do this again and again and again and again.
Because with our scary world, especially for women, true crime will never get old. Because there's always going to be an event that we're pulled towards. There's always going to be disgusting things happening to men, women, and children. I don't see a perfect world where we're going to have this kumbaya event. And if it's going to happen, girlfriend, it definitely won't be in my lifetime, because we're going down the shithole faster than you can flush it. We will always have material to solve and resolve these cases, and that is what's going to just keep this spiraling effect going. Forget true crime, it's true misery. We are actively banking on true misery for our own entertainment. Now, I gave you my why, I gave you my background, and I gave you 2 examples with 2 of the most disgusting pieces of shit that have ever walked the face of the earth. So I think I need to tell you about my turning point in all of this, so that way we can really draw this conclusion together. You see, let me tell you, I remember the case with the beautiful Alexis Sharkey that happened last year.
The influencer ended up dead at just 26 years old. Alexis Sharkey posted hundreds of photos and videos for her Instagram followers.
I cleansed my skin last night.
She tried out skincare products and demoed hair tutorials, all while giving followers a peek inside her glamorous life.
She was so fun and she brought such joy.
But her mom, Stacey Robinald, says a phone call on Saturday from Alexis's husband of nearly a year changed everything.
What did he say to you? He said that she's missing, that no one knows where she's at, and at that point, friends began to call as well. I mean, everybody was frantic.
The next day, her worst fears came true. A naked body discovered by a garbage truck driver near a Houston interstate was identified as Alexis.
For those of you that are not familiar with that case, Alexis Sharkey was a very young lady that lived in Texas with her husband, Tom. She had a great social media presence because she was active with the company Monet, which is a multi-level marketing company that focuses on hair products. She was your typical influencer, beautiful influencer that was found deceased on the side of the road in Texas. Now, this created a lot of uproar. Hell, you could not go on Twitter or Instagram without seeing the hashtag with her name on it, seeing pictures of her, her family, her husband, both with news broadcasting online and secondhand news, with socials going nuts. She was found on the side of the road with more questions than answers, which is what invoked that frenzy. That frenzy also caused a lot of accusations. The family went under stress. You know, a lot of people were even questioning the husband. So much so that as of October 6, 2021, which is 2 days from today, the day I'm recording this video, he was found unresponsive in his own home by taking his own. And this is right after they made him a suspect in September of this year. So I don't know if they were going to bring him in for questioning or what, if the guilt was getting to him, or I don't know what happened. Now, why am I telling you this? And why is this a part of my restructuring with how I see true crime? Well, guys, this was a huge deal last year. It was a media frenzy. Social media was going bananas. You had anti-MLM creators that were debating whether or not we were going to talk about it because she was a Monet rep. But I actually am happy that we didn't talk about it, because there are some lines you just don't cross, and none of us are detectives, so I'm actually happy that didn't happen. But it became a real big spark of interest. It was a hot topic. You couldn't go on socials without seeing debates about the husband, all these different analyses, why she was left where she was. It became almost nauseating, at least for me. Now, with a big development like what Tom did, I mean, that's a huge thing in the case. You would think that that would spark a whole lot of questions, whole lot of what's going on here. Nothing. Crickets. Tumbleweeds moving across farms. Absolute silence. I even went as far as to go on Twitter to see, like, oh, was it trending? Wasn't on my end, it wasn't trending. I type in her name, it comes up. I go down the threads by leading media competitors, 10 comments or less each thread. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. We couldn't escape this last year. This was everywhere. It was everywhere. And now, nothing. Not even statements from Monet or representatives or friends or family. Nothing. And that made me think for a minute. This young lady's passing, whether or not you agree with the company she was a part of, I know somebody's going to mention that. That does not have any application to her story whatsoever. This entire thing was hype. They made hype. We all, media, people that were involved in studying this case left and right, nosy people like you and me, we made this hype. We hyped up this young lady that was found on the side of the road, unclothed and no life to her. We hyped this, and it's almost like we discarded it. And what I mean is, if we want justice for somebody, why isn't that hype train still going? I'm gonna raise you another one. Have you ever heard of someone being over their brief claim of fame, or girl, her 15 minutes been up? You know, have you ever heard of a remark like that? This is going to sound incredibly crass, but I hope you understand what I mean when I say that remarks like that are also applicable in death. Last year, like I said 10,000 times already, this case was a hot topic, but that topic has gone cold, even with an active case, because we're on to the next one, Gabby Petito. So I've mentioned to you that there's hype and there's fantasy involved in our part in viewing these crimes from whatever vantage point that we have. We stand or sit from our vantage point, we dive into these topics, and we crave to solve the mystery. And Gabby Petito is right now the active, somewhat mystery that is going on. To be fair, I'm not swooned by emotion. The truth is, we know who the prime suspect is, okay? But we cannot legally say, I can't say at least, that that individual is the one that did it, because there has not been a confession. Not one beaten out of him, not one from his own mouth. So until that happens, I cannot call him that. And I ain't getting sued, girl. This channel already small hell. You can have your own convictions about this person, but I cannot call him that without it legally being that. Now see, Gabby's situation being a mystery is probably the best example I can give to everything that I've been talking about when it comes to us as viewers almost unhealthily wanting to solve what happened. And that in itself is the problem. We want to solve what happened to Gabby. See, Gabby's situation is sparking so much outrage, and that's great. And that's the problem, because she deserves it. You see, well over 700 indigenous people have gone missing within the radius that Gabby was found, and none of them got any coverage. You might be thinking to yourself, Margaret, that's a bit of a reach. How can you connect the two? Over 700 people have gone missing in that area, and I'd like to ask you, do you know any of their names? I'm sorry, that's rude. Okay, maybe that's a little much. Give me 5 names. 3? 1. But we all know Gabby Petito. I mean, come on, do I have to say it? Do I have to say it? Gabby sparked national, international outrage. I have no issue with searching for Brian Loserface or whatever the fuck his name is. I have no issue looking for him because he does deserve to be found. As of this video, it has not been found. He does deserve to be found and brought in for questioning. I mean, there's a due process to everything. So again, I can't say what he did or didn't do. We have to follow due process. But I want justice for Gabby. She deserves it. So do they. You see, they don't get coverage. They don't get true crime talking about them. That's the true crime right there, the American crime story. They don't get that though. We have to find out about them through secondary media outlets, you know, the ones that aren't broadcasted on TV.
Gabby Petito's case has now sparked new interest in finding other missing persons, prompting people online hunting for clues to focus on other cases, including missing people of color who don't garner as much national attention. Missing white woman syndrome is what it's been referred to as, the historic tendency for national attention to gloss over cases of missing minorities. In the state of Wyoming, where Petito went missing, according to a state report that was released in January, 710 indigenous people, mostly girls, were reported missing over the past decade. That report also states that 30% of indigenous homicide victims were covered by the media, while closer to 51% of cases involving white people got media coverage. Here's some of those missing cases involving people of color, like Mary Johnson Davis, an indigenous woman in Washington state who was last seen walking along a road to a friend's house on the Tulalip Reservation on November 25th, 2020. She was not reported missing until December 9th, and the FBI is offering up $10,000 to help find her as her family searches for answers. Then there's 39-year-old Maya Malette, a mother of 3. She's now been missing for more than 9 months. She was last seen at her family home in Chula Vista, California, and her family is still waiting for answers. Adidja Britton, a member of the Round Valley Indian tribe, was abducted at gunpoint from the Round Valley community of Cabello, California in February of 2018. Authorities there have renewed a call for witnesses to come forward as her family remembers Britton as a 4.0 high school student and star athlete. Daniel Robinson is a young geologist last seen in Arizona. Robinson went missing in the desert outside Buckeye, Arizona in late June. His family claims authorities haven't done enough to find him, and police say a landowner actually found Robinson's damaged Jeep on July 19th, about 4 miles from the job site where he was last seen. These are just some of the many missing persons cases of color and...
My SIM card is full. Okay, I got a new camera and now I need to get a new SIM card. This is my life. This is my life. But all I want to say is this. I just want to make it a point to where it's okay if you like this genre. I can't tell you what to like and what to dislike. This is all my own feelings about why I don't feel comfortable watching it as it is now. I don't like to think that the most heinous stuff is just selling points and we're all just diving in and cashing in on the system, making the industry billions of dollars while these families sit behind and they mourn their loved ones and have to fight the fact that these stories were not consented to be out there. I mean, seriously, think about it. Whenever something happens or someone gets, or something like that, it automatically makes the news, okay? Now, granted, they wait to tell the families who it was before they release the name, but once the story's out there, it's out there. And you have all this speculation, all these people talking about it, all these accusations. My own family went through this literally this year. My husband's uncle was a police officer that was killed in the line of duty. Whole bunch of commentary on that. Very overwhelming for families. That's what I'm getting to. So if there was this, I don't know, unspoken ethical board, or if there was something innate in us to where we would handle these stories with such care and remorse, and it's not just, and then he did this, and then this happened, and then she did this, and she snapped. If only it really was about the people that were affected, okay? That's all I'm saying. Because we were not affected. We cashed in on this and we're nosy. You know what I'm saying? So I want to see a lot of change, and I think that's the bottom line of what I'm getting at here. And I hope that over time this does gradually change into something to where we can honor the lives that were lost. So, but I will leave you with that. I need to go get something to eat. The indigestion is killing me. I gotta feed my baby. My name is Margaret on Gel. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Have you ever hooked up with somebody that was hot? No, before. I said it. Oh my God, I'm gonna get canceled for this. If I'm gonna get canceled, bitch, it might as well be something I actually said. Hello? Oh, okay, how you doing? 1 second, let me grab my appointment book. Were you able to go on the website? Okay. No, I don't have anything available today. Not a problem. Bye-bye. Okay. People always want like an appointment in like an hour later. Like, you're like, girl, I ain't got time for that.